Greetings. Thanks for stopping by. Health and happiness to you. I'm Skol, and this is the Rosecraft Blades Appalachian Jack, and this is out of the vault. This is a pattern previously released, actually one of their first patterns, model number 003, way back in 2022. Currently, it's July 2026, and it's out of the vault back again. The original had black micarta and the rosebud shield D2 steel and a different pull strength, but it's been updated. Now they're actually releasing two bone versions instead of micarta. So they've got a red barn board similar to this Tuckahoe Jack, where you have the long grooves in the red bone, and that's the barn called the barn board. But I went with the Dapper Jigged Bone this time. So that's one of their best colored and jigging pattern, Dapper Jigged Bone. So what I like about this is the complex colors, starting from light brown, and then you get to darker brown, and then down in the grooves, even darker brown. So complex colors and complex jigging. You get a jigged pattern, but then they also add some grooves. So 2 layers of different jigging pattern. So one of their best looking popular patterns, and I went with that again this time. I've got another knife in the Dapper Jigged Bone, so I was happy to get another one. Very, very nice looking, very nice shape. It's a larger size. So out of the vault, we're back again, and really glad to get this one. So let's start off with some size comparisons. So I mentioned I had another Dapper Jigged Bone. Here's your Snake Creek Copperhead pattern, and this was actually more on the larger size, but you can see our Appalachian is even bigger. Longer blade, longer handle, and we'll do exact measurements here in a little bit. Here's another size measurement. Most people in Slipjoints, they have a Sodbuster Jr. from Case. So you can see longer handle, longer blade, so longer knife. Now how big is it exactly? Let's go ahead and do our measurements. So our overall blade measurement, 3¼ and our cutting edge 2¾ 2.75 cutting edge, and then our overall handle length is 4⅛ inches, but if you measure all the way out to that, it's got a Prybar on the end of this one. So I'm getting 4�3/8 if you included that. Where you put your fingers, 4 inches, and your overall length, including the Prybar, 7�5 inches. So that's pretty big. And whenever you talk about size, how big is the handle? I wear large size gloves, and we said it was 4 inches where you can put your fingers starting at the bolster, and you can see lots of extra room. So with my I wear large size gloves, so even if you're extra large, you can see there's plenty of room. This should accommodate pretty much anybody. So if you're a larger hand person, or you just like larger handles, this is the knife for you. This is one of the biggest ones. So feels very comfortable. You got rounded off edges, chamfered. You got good chamfering. Nothing feels like a sharp edge all around. And one thing about jigging is they have to make the bone a little bit thicker so that they have more to work with to then create the jiggings. But sometimes those can feel blocky. This one does not feel blocky. It feels good. So we've got jigging, but we still feel good and we don't feel blocky. So that is very nice. And your fit and finish. Let's go ahead and tour the knife. Here on the back spring, everything's flush, just like you expect from Rosecraft. And the fit here in the corners is good. No gaps, looks perfect all the way around. We'll do our walk and talk here in a second. And let's do a full tour, starting at the tip, clip point blade. And the drop there comes about to the center line, so that's nice. And you got a nail nick and a swedge. Nail nick's only on this side, on the show side. And there's your factory edge. Looks nice in the light. And we'll check the other side. Good factory edge. Sharpening choil. Looks nice. Here on the Ricasso, you got the Rosecraft stamp. And on the other side, you've got your steel 14C28N. So the original, we said this was a release out of the vault. And the original from 2022, that was in D2 steel. But now we've got an upgrade. 14C28N. Very high in corrosion resistance. You don't need to oil these at all. This is high corrosion resistance. And very high in toughness, which is good when you have a longer blade. This is a longer blade, a little bit outside, a lot longer than the usual slip joint range. So we're out of the normal range, a little bit bigger. There's your model number 003 DJB Dapper Jigged Bone, made in China. And your Andy Armstrong maker's mark right there. Then you got your bolster with one flute. Here's your nice Dapper Jigged Bone pattern. You got a rosebud shield, the original that was in black micarta. It also had a rosebud shield. And then you got your Prybar tip down here at the end, which is unusual. And it comes to a chisel grind there. So that could maybe work as a glass breaker, window breaker, or pry bar, or even a screwdriver in a pinch. So a couple different utilities. And do you like that? I was thinking about whether I like that or not. So I've carried other knives, and just to show you, I know I have a few. Here's one that has a glass breaker deliberately, and this one has a seatbelt cutter. And for a while I was in a phase like, with my pocket knife, I should be ready for an emergency. But I kind of got over that. But this pointy tip never caused me any trouble in the pocket. So I don't think this would cause you any trouble. And it's just the extra tool there if you needed it. You have some extra utility on the end. If I had my druthers, I'm not sure, I wouldn't like that to become like standard on knives. And I was thinking about, I rotate my knives a lot more than I used to. And I wonder if I needed a pry bar, would I even remember that was on the knife I was carrying that day? And I'm kind of thinking not. So if I was going to say one or the other, I don't mind it being there, but I probably don't really need that. And this is based off of an old IXL pattern. So the old IXL, it also had the pry bar. So they were like using that pattern as the inspiration. And then I know Rosecraft came out with the Buffalo River, another Rosecraft a couple of years ago. And it was the same shape, same pattern, but they took the pry bar off, and it was just a tad smaller, almost the same size, but a little bit smaller. And without the pry bar, that one's called the Buffalo River, which I don't think is currently available. So maybe we'll see that one again too. So, excuse me, I heard Andy had got some feedback. Some people didn't like the pry bar. So if you want the Buffalo River, or if that comes out again, you can get one without a pry bar. But I don't think it's going to cause any problem, and I put mine in a slip now anyway, which we'll go ahead and show next. And we'll do the walk and talk here in a bit, but it has good walk and talk. So here's a C. Reisner, traditionalpocketknives.com custom slip with their logo. And this is their standard size, which is called small, but this is the size that fits most slip joints. And you can see if you put it pry bar first, it actually fits in there flush, no problem. So their standard size can accommodate the pry bar, and you're all the way up to the top. So this is a larger knife, fills it all the way up, but the normal size slip works just fine if you put it pry bar first. However, if you flip it the other way, which is the way I prefer, I know some people do it that way anyway, but I'm a bolster first person for pocket slips. And when you put when the bolster goes in first, you can't, that's as far as it goes, and your little pry bar here is sticking out a little bit. Just a little bit, and that's probably not a problem, but it does bug me, because if I have it encased in a slip, I just want the whole thing covered. And I don't want to put it in pry bar first, because I like to put the bolster in first on all my slips. So what am I going to do about it? I went ahead and bought the next larger size of C. Reisner, so they have these also. And that way I can go bolster first. And you can see there's plenty of room there. But since this is a larger slip joint, it kind of fits in the large size. And real easy. So I thought those colors were pretty good too. That gold stitching kind of goes with the brownish shades of brown. I thought that looks good together. So I think that's called the gold, large one with the gold stitching. Anyway, so here's my slip that I got for this knife at traditionalpocketknives.com. Or you can get their standard one and put the pry bar in first, and that worked as well. So I just wanted to show that to you. Some options for carrying if you use slips like I do. And what else we got here? So rosebud shield. I also noticed the pull strength. Let's do the walk and talk next, and then we'll finish the stats. So it's pinchable, so that's good. Just pinch. You don't need to put your nail in there. Just pinch it right here at the nail nick, and that's a 6. I'm going to give it a 6. This is easy. Right in the zone. You want it to be between 5 and 6. 5 and 7. And that feels like a 6 to me all the way. And I'll be quiet so you can hear it. And let's do this. Get in focus. Good snap. Good spring. Good tension. So very nice walk and talk. Good sounds. Good pull strength. Now, let's wipe some fingerprints off. We've done a tour of the blade. Nice walk and talk. Very beautiful knife. Very glad to have it. Let's finish our stats. So let's do the weight. And a tear. So 3.66. That's right in the EDC range. A lot of slip joints are a little bit lighter, so a little bit heavier, but your most common modern everyday carry pocket knives run between 3 and 5 ounces. So this is in your EDC weight range, no problem. And let's check that was 3.66 ounces. Let's check our stock thickness on the blade. And we're zeroed. And here at the ricasso, at the thickest point, we're getting 0.1065. So that's greater than 0.10, and it's 0.1065 inches. And let's go halfway down the blade. It keeps its thickness pretty good, all the way down to the swedge. So let's measure halfway down here at the nail nick. We got 0.96, actually it's 0.97 right there. Or that's 0.097. So we're almost still at the 0.1. But for stock thickness on a slip joint, that is good. On a 3-inch blade on a slip joint, I like to have at least 0.10. So this one is over that. So this is a good stock thickness. Plus we've got our 14C28N, which gives us added toughness as well. So this is a very good steel choice, and on a bigger blade, and an upgrade from the original version from 2022. So what else do we have to show here? Everything is nice fit and finish. If you do ever have any problems, I've heard that Andy takes care of you. Just contact Andy at Rosecraft, and they'll take care of you if there is some kind of issue. I've heard anybody that's called, they've been taken care of, from what I've heard, so that's good news. And we've looked at the Ricasa, very nice shape. Nice larger slip joint, another great one from Rosecraft. And we talked a little bit about the Prybar. So if I had my druthers, maybe I'd like it just as good with or without it. But if I had to choose one way or the other, I'd probably go without it. That would be just my opinion. Just because I rotate knives, and I might not remember that's there anyway as an extra tool. But you do have the extra tool if you need it, and remember that it's there. So, got another one in Dapper. They've done Dapper quite a few times because it's one of their best looking patterns. Here's the Tenacity Lake that came out someone recently. So that one was in the Dapper, but for something different I went with the blue bone on that one, which is also very nice. Rosecraft, and look how there's some color complexity in this one, from a light blue there, and then it gets darker blue, and then down in the grooves even darker blue, almost black. So I like jigging. I like the color complexities. They're doing such good dye on their bones on the Rosecraft, so I like that just as much as the Dapper. And then even on the barn board here, you get some color complexity. So here's on their Tuckahoe Jack, kind of a light red there, and then dark red, and then down in the grooves, almost a black, or a very, very dark red down in the grooves. So I like that with the jigging effect. It also gives you a shades of color effect as well. And this was a smaller knife too. So here's one of their most small models, and here's one of their bigger models. So just another size comparison. Rosecraft's giving you a bunch of different options if you like a small knife, if you like a medium knife or a large. They're giving you all the different options. So here's a large one. So this is the Rosecraft Blades Appalachian Jack. Thanks for stopping by. And I'm going to close with the motto here that's on the phone, or not phone, on the challenge coin. So, Semper Cultura. We looked at that before. That means always with the blade. And my usual closing statement is, remember, always carry a knife. But this is pretty similar, always with the blade. So today I'm going to say Semper Cultura, always with the blade. Have a nice day.